And just like that, another Flame season is in the books, and there is a lot to show for it.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first off-season episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today, I thought that we would kind of recap the biggest moments of last night's game, but also just talk about the numbers surrounding the team, as well as what the biggest storylines might be heading into the summer, because we all know it's rebuild time, so we gotta put our emotional connections to players aside and remember this is a business. Before we dive into all of that, please make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's talk about the kids. Flames won 5-1. Dan Vladar in net. Vladar looked great. I will say, I thought that he was he was playing for a contract. I would definitely say I think that the Flames will end up re-signing him, unless like he's asking for a ridiculous amount of money. But even then, the Flames, spending money on a goaltender to back up Dustin Wolf kind of feels like more of an investment. But great night for him and the kids. The Flames had 4 players making their NHL debut last night, with Sam Morton, Suniev, Parekh, and Hunter Brzustewicz. And what a game. Zayne Parekh just looked unbelievable. I saw a few people say that his strides and his skating reminded them of Matthew Tkachuk. And to me, that was music to my ears, or I guess music to my eyes, because I was reading it on Twitter. But I like hearing those positive things. And of course, it's easy to look at things and say, wow, look at this immediate impact he's making. And imagine what could have happened if they played him earlier. At the end of the day, it's done. It's done and over with. There's nothing you can do. But Brew looked great too. I think the biggest difference between the two is Brzustewicz isn't as flashy as Parekh, and I don't mean that negatively towards Parekh, of course, but sometimes players just kind of fly under the radar a little bit, I would say, and I feel like Brzustewicz is going to be that guy. Conroy talked about a future pairing of Kevin Ball and Parekh, which is pretty big considering Andersson is Kevin Ball's partner. And obviously, like, you can put Andersson wherever in the lineup, within the top 4, and that's fine. But it's just something to think about when thinking of the future and the near future of the summer. And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But Sam Morton and Parekh both had their first NHL goals. So exciting. It is a reminder of what is ahead. To me, it reminded me of when Matt Coronado and Dustin Wolf made their debuts, because you knew that you knew the future was bright, but now there was like tangible evidence that they play well at the NHL level. Yes, it's only one game. Yes, it is a very small sample size, but it's a reminder of what's in store. And I think that that's like the most important part, because you can get caught up in the loser points of this season, or missing the playoffs, or how the Flames, maybe didn't trade XYZ at the deadline. But at the end of the day, when you look back on that game against the Kings, you look at what is ahead of you. Dustin Wolf, Matt Coronado, those kids. It is going to be fun. It is. There's going to be some lumps in the road and you have to take your medicine. But there is a lot to be looking forward to. Mark Messier had nothing but great things to say about Parekh as well. Said that he's going to have a good, long NHL. So Messier was talking about Parech's debut with the Flames, saying he's a beautiful skater. Some players just have the it factor. I couldn't take my eyes off of him and keep an eye out for him. Wow, what a player. Co-signing that very hard. But my declaration doesn't mean nearly as much as an NHL legend like Mark Messier. So very exciting. I mean, I just am thoroughly reminded that yes, the Flames didn't make the playoffs and they were so close, but once again, like always a bridesmaid, never the bride sort of situation. But there is something to be looking forward to. And I hope everyone just appreciates what's ahead and take this season as a stepping stone and a learning curve and hopefully another step in the right direction. But coming up next, we are going to talk about the numbers, break it down a little bit, league averages, where the Flames fell, and we'll be back right after this. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, it's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to amazon.com/firetv.lockedon to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Generation. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And one thing that it hit me while I was driving this evening, coming home from work, just 2 years ago, the season ended, and it felt like the biggest sigh of relief. It felt like it was never going to end, and it finally did. And if you remember, that summer, 7 players allegedly requested a trade, and those were apparently all the pending UFAs heading into next season. Things were not going well with Daryl Sutter. The Flames missed the playoffs, and that was the first year after losing Kachuk and Gaudreau in the offseason, and things just went really south really fast, and morale was at an all-time low. And I understand vibes alone aren't winning you a championship, and this is a business, you shouldn't just hang on to players to hang on to them and make the locker room happy. But this is the first part of it, because you don't want to be like Chicago and having teams, or players speak out and just be abysmal, or, like the Rangers and how they've had, I think about Calvin DeHaan. I think I've thought about that a lot these last few days. Sure, things might not be going the exact way all the players want them to, but it is still going in the right direction. And ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. You can't make everyone happy, but you can do your best. And to come from those rancid vibes to where they're at now, where everyone is so happy. You have veterans and two of the younger guys in Coronado and Wolf looking on at the 4 players making their NHL debut and smiling and laughing and being so happy to have them as part of the team. I think that that's great. And it's not just an optics thing. But let's move on to some good numbers. The Flames finished the season with 96 points, 4th in the Pacific Division. I said that they were going to finish last, and the Sharks were going to have more points than them. Not true. They went 41, 27, and 14. Really, again, not great, but not bad enough. The Flames were, they had 220 goals for, putting them 29th out of 32. And for goals against, they had 236, with putting them 15th out of 32. So, as you can tell, it's not necessarily great. You need to be better defensively, and you really have to be better offensively. I'm looking at the average of the league this year, and the Flames, they did finish above average in a lot of these categories, which is great to see, because I feel like we have missed the mark occasionally recently. So it's good to kind of be on top there. But to start, the Flames finished with 96 points, the average being 90. The overtime losses, the league average is 8. The Flames finished with 14, and that's funny. I'm sorry. I know people have their feelings about the loser points and that keeping the Flames in the conversation for as long as they did, but ultimately, there's always next year. Let's see. The wins were 41, and that's the same as the league average. They had less losses than most. They had 27 losses, while the average was 33 losses. So they did crawl their way to the finish line. Points percentage was kind of crazy to me. They were at a 585, and the league average was a 552. So good for the Flames. I'm glad you got some extra wins. I hope next season's a little bit better. And they had 49 power play goals, while the league average was 48. and they had 233 power play opportunities, while the league average was 220. They finished with a 21.03 power play, and their penalty kill was 76%, while the league average was a 78. I am just very happy for the Flames. I'm glad that they made it out of this season. I'm glad that it's behind them. And I'm glad that, even though they didn't make the playoffs and it came down to game 81 rather, they were still all smiles last night. And I fully expect a lot of these players to, I don't want to say phone it in, but I didn't think that they were going to try to come back against Vegas on Sunday night. I didn't think that was going to be the case at all. Or that wasn't Sunday night. Sorry, that was Tuesday. That was very much Tuesday. I have no idea what day of the week it is. Being on vacation for a week threw me off. I don't know where I am or what time it is, what day it is, any of that. But this is what made me laugh. The league average save percentage is an 893, and the Flames are almost at a 902. So I would say goaltending definitely played a big part of the Flames' success this year, and good. Again, it goes to show you that you have something to look forward to in Dustin Wolf. There is hope for next season and beyond, and hopefully things keep trending in the right direction. And they have, let's see, what was it? 5 shutouts, and that was the league average as well. Remember the year Jacob Markstrom had 9? That was a lot. I can't believe the Flames ever played well enough for one of their goaltenders to record 9 shutouts. That's crazy to me. The good old days. But coming up next, we are going to wrap up the show with my biggest storyline predictions and maybe some outcomes, because who knows really what might happen here on Locked On Flames. If you are like me and you like going to live sporting events, Game Time is the app that you must have with the Stanley Cup playoffs here. And if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it is unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it is next level. And thanks to Game Time, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Game Time is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices actually drop as puck drop gets closer, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60%. Last-minute deals have you saving up to 60% off on those last-minute tickets. I used Game Time to go to about 90% of the Flames games that I went to this year, and I would do it all over again. They were super easy, great value, and I like how you can see your view from your seats. Very helpful when trying to figure out the best spot in the dome. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. Going into the offseason, there's always a number of questions. What's going to happen? What is the trade situation? What does free agency look like? What does, do they move on from any personnel? Do they make any front office changes? Is there anything that really pulls you in one direction or another? And I have some predictions. I think the biggest storyline of the summer is going to be, will Rasmus Andersson be traded? We have already started these conversations. Some people are already saying, hold on to him until the deadline. Let him go in the summer so he can't tank his value anymore. But that also doesn't give him the opportunity to boost his value more. I do feel like it is going to be, because of how this situation has mimicked Noah Hannafin's trade situation, I'm going to say that this is very similar. Like, it's going to play out very, very similar. I just see a world where we are at the trade deadline, like a week away, and there we have it. Andersson kind of forces their hand like Noah Hannafin did. And I don't know if they want to get out ahead of the ball or play the game of trying to pump his value back up after, a not so great season. But it's definitely a situation worth watching unfold. Who goes in free agency? Do they re-sign Anthony Mantha? Do they let Joel Hanley walk? Does Kevin Rooney move on and go back east? What happens come July 1st? And to me, this is going to be fun and interesting, because last year they did free agency so well. They did not hand out any long-term, expensive, overpaid contracts, but can we expect that again? I hope so. I really would love to see them not bring in more veterans. I think that if you peel back some of the foundation and you look at the youth and the veterans that they have now, you take away, let's say Anthony Mantha, for example, or Joel Hanley and Kevin Rooney. I'm just, UFAs. And you replace those guys with younger players like a Rory Kearns, like a Jeremy Poirier. You have, Sam Morton. You have Zayne Parekh. You have Hunter Brzustewicz. Like, there are players that are ready to be the next man up. And I think that it is time to dive headfirst into that. I think it's time. But who comes in? What do they bring in? Do they re-sign Dan Vladar, or do they bring back a different goaltender? Or do they bring up, Devin Cooley? Haven't had to say his name in a while. Bring up Devin Cooley and let him back up Wolf and let Vladar walk for whatever reason. I don't know. There are so many possibilities. I want to know more about Connor Zary's potential rehabbing. How, it's a bummer that we didn't get to see him back at all after that collision with Mikko Rantanen. It stinks. It really does. And I wonder what his offseason is going to look like. I want to see a full season of a healthy Connor Zary next summer, or next season. And what are they going to do? Are they going to lock up Wolf, Coronado, and Zary? Are we going to finally get some contract extensions? I say finally as if they've been eligible. They're not eligible until literally July 1st. So we will have to watch all of that unfold. I'm interested to see if they do any sort of bridge deal for any of these guys. I think it makes most sense to sign them to max term. But again, not a general manager. I just play one Don't even play one on this podcast. But that'll do it for me here on this first episode of the Flames off-season. My goodness. Who are we all rooting for in the playoffs? Because I don't have any sort of investment this year. It stinks. But let me know so I can jump on a bandwagon. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And I will see you all on Monday, and we'll catch up on the latest news out of Calgary.